morning, I'm Michael Morra and this is Herald Now. On the show today, more MRIs, more colonoscopies, more cardiac tests, but do we have the staff to fulfil the government's promise of 75,000 more scans and tests? Health Minister Simeon Brown is with us live shortly. Top secret documents discovered in a former mayor's desk that a Wellington man bought at his local tip. Former Wellington Mayor Dame Kerry Prndergast joins us. The Herald's Mood of the Boardroom survey has given the government a reality check. Business leaders are unhappy with some of National's top brass, although Erica Stanford is a shining star. She and Willie Jackson are with us live to talk politics. Plus, the Herald's rugby analyst Gregor Paul will talk us through the All Blacks' chances of a win against the Wallabies. But first, let's go to Neva with the news.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington City Council is investigating after hundreds of confidential documents ended up in the hands of a man who bought an old mural desk at the city's dump. The documents include termination agreements, a sexual harassment claim, and staff pay details dating between 1988 and the early 2000s. The man tried to contact the council and claimed officials didn't take much notice. Herald reporter Ethan Manera says the council originally did not believe it to be true.
They told us when we first contacted them that it looks like a bit of social media mischief. When we presented them with the evidence after obtaining the documents, they've now launched formal investigation and notified the Privacy Commissioner.
Kiwis of retirement age may soon find themselves sitting on a jury despite currently being exempt. Currently, those 65 or over can ask to be excused from jury service permanently without reason. But a select committee has recommended a bill from National's Carl Bates pass into law, which would raise the age of exemption to 72. The bill will return to Parliament for a second reading. New polling suggests Kiwis are in favour of major changes to the electricity market. The Courier poll, commissioned by the Auckland Business Chamber and Octopus Energy, found 49% of Kiwis support splitting Jen Taylor's retail and generation arms. 62% want the government to underwrite new generation projects. Chamber CEO and former Energy Minister Simon Bridges says things have changed drastically since he was in the role, and the government needs to act fast. Making better use of Eden Park could see it make a bigger contribution to Auckland's GDP. An independent report's found the park boosted Auckland's GDP by $37 million in the 2023-24 year. It argues that if Eden Park made use of its 12 concert limit, that figure could almost treble to $107 million. Kiwis are calling for more government protection from global catastrophes. An Otago University study reveals 2/3 of New Zealanders want the government to develop strategies to deal with catastrophic disasters like nuclear war, bioengineered diseases, or rogue artificial intelligence. Professor Nick Wilson says we must make use of New Zealand's unique positioning in a far-flung part of the world. The National's RSA's Anzac Day poppies will no longer be made in New Zealand, switching to UK paper-based ones from next year. They've been made by volunteers in Christchurch for years. However, the purpose-built machine is nearing its end of life. The Veterans Organisation says the plastic-based poppies were also causing issues for caretakers at cemeteries and memorials as they became caught up in lawnmowers. It says it looked for a New Zealand manufacturer, but no option could be found that wouldn't result in a significant increase in the cost of production.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Gold for the men's pair of Oliver Welsh and Ben Taylor at the Rowing World Championships in Shanghai, a first step at the Los Angeles Olympic cycle. Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt has questioned any doom and gloom All Blacks verdicts as they prepare for tomorrow's opening Bledisloe Cup rugby test at Eden Park, saying people forget they were in the contest against Springboks until the hour mark. And third-placed Hawke's Bay have beaten 12th-ranked Auckland 45-28 to open round 9 of rugby's NPC.
I'm Michael Murray, you're watching Herald Now. Great to have you with us this morning. Well, there are multiple serious problems with New Zealand's health system currently. Senior doctors are striking, general practitioners feel burnt out, underpaid and disillusioned, and hospital emergency departments are overloaded. And at the centre of it all, of course, are concerns about patient safety. Radiology wait times for critical scans have ballooned. Health Minister Simeon Brown has responded by announcing plans to fund more scans, colonoscopies and to carry out more cervical examinations. He says 40,000 New Zealanders are waiting longer than they should for the tests they need. This announcement is recognition of the dire situation. I spoke to a radiologist last night who told me the $65 million plan, while well-intentioned, gets nowhere close to the amount of resource needed. They told me people are literally developing terminal cancer while waiting for scans, and it's awful. In addition, they also said Health New Zealand had been very slow, quote, to partner with private radiology operators. And there are, of course, additional complexities. If you're going to do thousands more colonoscopies, you need the workforce to analyse samples and determine if those samples are cancer or not, and importantly, let the patient know quickly. A pathologist I spoke to last night said that their workload has increased 45% in the past 10 years, with only a 20% increase in staffing at their lab. They were drowning in work and they asked, how will we cope with a spike in colonoscopies which generate more tests and ensure those results are delivered to patients in a timely manner? This information was backed up by the Royal College of Pathologists of Australasia, who told me the additional colonoscopies will put more pressure on an already stretched pathology workforce, and they hope, quote, they hope to hear from the Minister about whether this new funding will cover the additional demands it'll put on pathologists. The Health Minister, Simeon Brown, is next.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora, those northern parts of the country, the place to be today, with plenty of dry weather for Auckland and Northland. But you can see down in the south, we have got this band of clouds stretched across the South Island, bringing some wetter weather up through there, and also some stronger winds as well, especially ahead of that front as it moves northwards. So that wet weather moves up in towards Buller, the Tasman region, and for the afternoon it runs in towards parts of, say, Wellington, Taranaki, and by evening time it's up in the far northern parts of the country. But ahead of it, we'll find some stronger winds, especially for the next few hours for parts of Westland and Canterbury, and generally a windy day in Wellington and southern Wairarapa. We'll keep hold of a fair number of showers through Southland and Otago, perhaps some of those fairly heavy, with the odd chance of some hail or thunder around the coast for this afternoon. Wet weather sticks with us on that western coast, heavy and thundery. We'll also find a few showers running through parts of Canterbury, but it stays windier, I think, for the afternoon, with those winds picking up through the Canterbury Plains. The wet weather moves northwards in towards Wellington, Taranaki as we head through the morning time. I think some sharper showers perhaps on that western coast, and a windy story for Wellington, Wairarapa, and for the afternoon even through Hawke's Bay and Tairāwhiti. The wind's picking up in Taupo as well, with more cloud and perhaps an evening shower. Up in the far north, though, generally a fine, dry-looking story. Plenty of sunshine. It does turn cloudier for the afternoon, and we will find perhaps an odd evening shower, but most of the day staying dry, and top temperatures in Auckland of 18 degrees Celsius.
I'm Michael Murray, you're watching Herald Now. The government's announced more funding for scans and tests, critical for determining if a patient has cancer amid ballooning wait times. In the next year, Health Minister Simeon Brown says an extra 7,100 patients will get colonoscopies. There'll be more cardiac tests, a boost to cervical examinations, and more than 60,000 radiology procedures will be carried out. And he'll be leaning on private operators to get it done. Health Minister Simeon Brown is with us now. Thanks very much for being with us, Minister. So radiologists have told me some are waiting for scans for so long, they're developing terminal cancer while they wait. Are you aware of this?
Look, I know that the advice from Health New Zealand is that more than 40,000 New Zealanders are waiting too long to receive the scans and tests that they need. Clearly, if people are waiting too long, there are risks to whether it's cancer or other conditions that may develop during that time. And so that is why Health New Zealand has put together the diagnostics investment plan to make sure that we are increasing the number of diagnostic procedures being done to get on top of those wait lists, reduce those wait times so that people can get the answers that they need and start the treatments they need sooner. So we acknowledge
Minister,
this
sorry, I'll just interrupt you there. So what is an acceptable wait time in your view? I mean, is it weeks or months or 12 months?
So it depends on the particular type of scan or test. So if you're recommended for an urgent colonoscopy, the expectation is that people receive those within 14 days. If it's a routine colonoscopy, if you're on a surveillance colonoscopy, then there's, I think it's several weeks.
Okay, so it's an expectation. It's not a guarantee, though, is it, that you would get it within those timeframes?
No, those are the targets that Health New Zealand have set. They have not been meeting those targets. This additional funding is designed to support delivery against those targets so that we can increase access. And the critical one is those patients referred for urgent colonoscopies. Those must be done within 14 days. And by outsourcing and using private providers to maximise capacity, which, as you mentioned in your introduction, is a critical component of this, we're able to get more done so that patients can get those answers sooner. And if cancer is identified, they can then get on to the treatment that they need as quickly as they can.
Okay, so what have you said to Health New Zealand in terms of when, how long it's going to be before these wait times come down? Like by Christmas, are we going to see a significant difference, or is it going to be halfway through next year?
Well, the reduction in the wait times needs to start immediately. Clearly, it will take time due to the significant size of these wait lists. We're dealing with wait lists, whether it's here with diagnostics, wait lists for specialist appointments, wait lists for elective surgeries. And my message very clearly to Health New Zealand is we need to maximise capacity across both the public system and the private system to reduce those wait lists. We have started to see some really good progress on elective surgeries this year. We've had a significant reduction in the number of people, I think about 22% reduction in the number of people waiting more than 4 months for an elective surgery, which is a significant reduction in that wait list. But clearly, look, there is a lot of work to do. And my expectation of Health New Zealand is that they get on and deliver it, maximising what can be done within the public system, whilst also using private providers so that patients are put first and we get as much done as possible.
Okay, I just want to return to the colonoscopies. I mean, if you're increasing the number of colonoscopies, that's going to put additional demand on pathologists, and the experts these are the experts needed to report the results of the samples. Did you speak to pathologists before making this announcement?
Well, look, Health New Zealand has developed this plan.
Did Health New Zealand speak to them before this plan was announced?
Well, it's worked through. It's been led by clinicians, and it's been worked through its clinical networks to ensure that there is a clear plan put together which covers not just increased activity, investment in our workforce, also looking at digital and technological solutions that are required as well. So the plan is not just about increasing capacity, but a whole range of measures needed to make sure that the system is able to work better for patients, right from the process of diagnostics through to making sure that we can deliver those treatments. And of course, alongside when it comes to cancer, this government's invested a record $600 million additional to Pharmac's budget, which has so far funded an additional 33 cancer medicines. That makes a huge difference in patients' lives.
And I'm aware of the budget allocation, and that's fantastic. But the Royal College of Pathologists have told me that we hope to hear from the Minister the details of this policy announcement so we can understand how it'll address long-standing pathology and training shortages. So do you have those details, Minister?
Well, there's a range of initiatives as part of this plan, including increased activity, investment in the workforce, increased investment into training for radiology and also into echosonographers. In terms of the issue around making sure that there is investment in pathology, there is work underway within Health New Zealand to do that as well. But as I said, the investment here is not just about increased access to diagnostics.
Are you going to make an announcement?
It's also about making sure that we can continue to get patients that continuum of treatment and care that they need so that they can get the care that get seen quicker and get treatment quicker.
Understood. So are you anticipating an announcement that you'll be making an announcement about investment in pathology soon?
Well, I think there's certainly work underway within Health New Zealand to address those concerns. My expectation is that Health New Zealand continues to meet with those stakeholders to make sure that the investment, the record investment this government has made into health is continuing to focus on frontline service delivery so that patients can be seen sooner and get the treatment they need quicker.
Okay, Health Minister Simeon Brown, thanks very much for joining us on Herald Now this morning. Appreciate your time. Well, we're joined now by our political panel to round out the week in politics, a week marked by the mood of the boardroom that sent a clear signal to the government that business leaders want more. Erica Stanford was the highest ranked cabinet minister and joins me along with Labour MP Willie Jackson. Hey guys, thanks for coming in this morning.
Morning.
Erica, why do you think business leaders like you so much?
Oh, look, it's a nice endorsement of the fact that, I'm part of a high-performing team, but also we're on track in education to raise achievement, close the equity gap and support our amazing teachers who are implementing a significant reform program on the ground every day.
Do you have leadership aspirations?
I want to be the Minister of Education for the next 10 years. That is my goal. I love my job and I've got a lot more to achieve, I can tell you that.
Okay. Willie, what did you make of the mood of the boardroom survey and those cabinet rankings?
Oh, it's clear that Erica should be the Prime Minister. I think it's clear as a bell when you're ranking as number one. And clearly they don't see the Prime Minister in that light at the moment. The reality is that these are their people. They're not our people. We never do any good on their rankings. It's if we didn't rank well in terms of the CTU, we'd be worried. But in terms of the mood of the boardroom, they never do anything for Labour. But they're disillusioned with their team. This is their team. Christopher Luxon is one of their contemporaries. He worked with them. He was part of the board, and it's a bit of a shock for them, but we're all very happy for Erica over here. She should. We know she's got prime ministerial aspirations, and good on her. Is that
true?
There's no doubt about it, and she should be promoted now.
He's causing trouble, and he does this every single time. And we all know very well. I've said it many times. I'm very happy where I am. I love being the Minister of Education. But look, your comments really undermine, I think, the work that Barbara Edmonds is doing. If you're saying these are not our people, and give her a bit more credit. She obviously was another shining star, and if you want to make the same sort of comments, she was up there at the very top, far above Chris Hipkins. And so if you want to talk about leadership.
Well, Erica, I just note Audrey Young in her column this week, you just said it's about a team, but Audrey suggests that you're actually not much of a team player, that you have difficulty delegating responsibilities. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm the Minister of Education. How would I delegate responsibilities to my caucus colleagues? I mean, it's a bit of a weird thing to say, but this is what happens, right? The giant target is now painted on my back, and I see Audrey's gone straight in for it. It's a bit rough. Look, I love my job. I am so passionate about it. We are delivering amazing results in education, and next month I'm going to be able to talk about some of those. That's what I care about. So
for the next 10 years, that's all you want to do, Education Minister?
If I was the Education Minister for the next 10 years, I would be supremely happy. Because, look, we've got a huge reform program to roll out, and I want to make sure that we get through all of it.
Would you be supremely happy if you're Prime Minister of New Zealand?
Look, I'm happy where I am, part of the team, Education
Minister.
And I'm proud to be a member of Christopher Luxon's cabinet. Can I just say, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be as successful as I am. He has put me on an extremely long leash. He backs me 100%. What you don't see behind the scenes is the incredible support that he gives me and all of the other ministers to do our job successfully. That's the role that he plays and does it very well. Okay, fair enough. Look, applications to hunt for oil and gas have been opened up across the country, and the industry's very pleased. The Green Party has appalled. Willie, where do you sit on this issue? Well, obviously, I'd like to keep talking about Erica, but again, I think she. I'll come to it, but I think she would be a great solution. I'll move on, Willie. Come on. And the reality, it's between her and Chris Bishop, as we all know. My money would be on her because she's got that appeal in there. But the reality is, if you go back to that mood of the boardroom, their own people are disillusioned with them. And yes, Barbara Edmonds did do a good job. She did a good job, but it's, because that's us. We'll engage with them, unlike this
government who won't engage with the unions. In terms of the gas and oil ban, of course we're going to flip it. I mean, it's just looks ridiculous, doesn't it? Shane Jones out there. This is the same Shane Jones, along with Winston Peters, who stood behind Jacinda Ardern and said no. You know, now he had a straight face. Now he's got another face, and all of a sudden, oh no, that was shocking what Labor did. He backed our ban.
No.
He backed our ban.
He did not.
100%.
He did not. Everyone remembers the look on his face. Remember the head in the hands when she made the announcement?
Erica, so there is a point that Willie's making. I mean, if you're going to go exploring for oil and gas, and you know that the Labor Party, if they got back into government, are just going to repeal that and ban it again, why would you bother coming down here?
Because that is the thing that we need to be pragmatic and to ensure that we've got supply into the future and we bring prices down and we don't have blackouts. Now, I'll tell you something. When I was in the mood of the boardroom yesterday, before Barbara Edmonds made the comment that they're going to reverse it again, and when she made it, and after she made it, it was the most awkward thing. You could tell she didn't believe it. You could tell. She's a smart woman. You could tell she didn't believe what she was saying. And when she said it, well, we'll reverse it again, the entire room, almost, you could hear them audibly groan because they know that this is pragmatic. We are now importing coal and have been under your government for energy security. It is ridiculous.
I know. I just go back to the uncertainty, though. I mean, it takes from the point of exploration to actually pulling the stuff out of the land, 16 years. And I just, is there even heaps of oil and gas in New Zealand?
Where is the oil and gas?
This was her point yesterday. And Barbara's only argument why we shouldn't explore for oil and gas is because it will take a long time. Well, in the meantime, we're importing gas. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're one of the only countries in the world transitioning from gas to oil, which has got to coal, which has got twice as many emissions. I mean, they're just hope strategy of maybe if we didn't do anything in 6 years in terms of actually looking for proper green energy.
No, well, we weren't looking for oil and gas because nobody knows where it is, and we're trying to work out.
If we don't look, we won't know.
Shane Jones doesn't know where it is. He's just giving hundreds of millions of dollars to his mates.
Just on Shane Jones. This week, he sort of interfered in your big announcement around getting more skilled migrants into New Zealand to support New Zealand businesses, right? And he came on this program and said, actually, this is a policy which is going to flood New Zealand with migrants. Do you agree, Erica?
Absolutely not. And he knows that too, because I've told both him and Winston Peters this is very surgical, very targeted. In the first instance...
But they obviously don't care about that, do they? Did they give you a heads up they're going to do this?
Of course they did. And that's the kind of government we are. We sit down and we have open conversations. Obviously we disagree because there was an agree to disagree. But I've been very clear. This is very surgical, very targeted, very highly skilled migrants that would have to have 5 years experience plus some experience here. Plus be in those jobs that are highly skilled. There's not that many of them in the country right now. But if we don't give them a pathway to residence, they will leave and it will have a massive hit on our productivity in New Zealand businesses. We cannot afford that.
Are the optics on this with a New Zealand First interfering, Willie, good or bad?
Oh, good. It shows that they're in disarray. But again, they show they show you a lot of respect, Erica, in terms of your leadership. They obviously have talked to you, so it's good that they went out of their way. But the reality is this: is that let's invest in workers here. Here's the other side of it, Michael. 210 workers are leaving New Zealand every single day because of the policies of this government.
So in 2023, the same amount left under your government.
No investment in the economy, no investment in terms of capital investment. Where's the investment in the schools? Where's the investment in the hospitals?
Oh, let's talk about investment in schools.
Where's the investment in terms of public housing?
We built more schools last year than you built in 2023. We'll build more this year. We've put in double the amount into school maintenance in one budget than they did in 6 years. Now, they'll come out and say, you've stopped school builds. Absolute lies and rubbish. We have done more in the last 18 months.
Erica, that's not very prime ministerial.
That's not on my agenda.
The reality is their capital investment went from 65 billion to 51 billion. It was announced in the budget. Minimal investment in schools, hospitals,
rubbish.
roads,
More in schools than in the 6 years combined.
Okay, guys, we've got to leave it there.
But I know she's doing a very good job, so I vote for her.
You really do approve of her, don't you, Willie?
She was number one with her mates in the boardroom.
Okay, all right. Guys, we really appreciate you both coming in. That is Erica Stanford, Education Minister, and also Willie Jackson, Labor MP. Coming up, the haul of confidential documents that landed in the hands of a Wellington man, and the United Nations continues to talk. The airstrikes in Gaza also continue.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because of good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Still can't get enough.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to newsroom.co.nz.
Ready?
Love changes everything. Love changes everything.
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
The Beacon City Acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university.
My message to the union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
Welcome back, I'm Michael Morra. An extensive haul of confidential documents has ended up in the hands of a Wellington man after he bought an old Herald office desk from the local tip. The Herald's now obtained the documents, which include termination agreements, a sexual harassment claim, staff pay details, code of conduct complaints and confidentiality agreements. Ethan Manera has the story.
The Herald has obtained hundreds of highly confidential and secret Wellington City Council documents after a local man bought the old Herald desk out of the town hall from the Wellington tip shop. Raymond Morgan purchased the desk last week and took it home to find hundreds of documents inside. He says he raised the issue with the council, but they weren't interested and didn't believe him. Now he's provided the documents to the Herald. They include discussions of the CEO's pay, performance reviews, and staff terminations. There are copies of confidentiality agreements between former councillors and the council. There are copies of private correspondence regarding councillor behaviour sent to the Mayor from 1997. This one relates to a termination of a council employee, which includes emails between the then Mayor Mark Blumsky. There's a resignation letter drafted to the Mayor from 1997 from the then CEO. Morgan said he contacted the council when he first found the documents, but said that they weren't interested. The Herald sought comment from the council this morning, which said it didn't believe that documents were still in the drawers and encouraged us to go find them ourselves.
Okay, well, joining us now is former Wellington Mayor Dame Kerry Prndergast. Kerry, thanks so much for being on the show with us this morning. So what's your reaction to these highly confidential documents being picked up at the dump?
Well, it's a diabolical situation on a number of fronts. One, that these things were not emptied out of the desk in 2013. I can't believe that that didn't happen. And secondly, that the call taker didn't accept that there was some truth behind the contact from the person who found the desk and picked them up themselves. Where we're now is a situation where highly confidential papers are available to the media. I know that the media has to work under privacy laws, but these are people that are still living, and I hope they respect the integrity of the people who both signed the bits of paper and will now respect them and not use them in the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the amazing things is that, the local resident came to the council and said, hey, look, we've got this stuff, and the council effectively said, oh, well, we just don't believe you. Is that how council operates?
Well, I hope that's not the way it operates, and I understand there's going to be a full investigation, and there absolutely should be. Those cupboards in the decks were locked for a good reason. These are the days before digital, so everything was in hard copy. There's a little bit of me wonders why this person didn't bundle them up and deliver them to the council officers. But putting that to one side, the reality is that they're now in the public domain, and that is a terrible situation for both the people that signed the documents, but also the parties that were part of the agreements, the code of conduct agreements, the performance review agreements. It's diabolical.
Yeah, okay, diabolical for sure. So how was this information treated when you were at council? Like when I left my last job, I cleared out my desk and put the papers in a safe place. Was it just a bit slack or something?
No, quite the reverse. So that when I left the office in 2010, you go through all the things that can be filed, but most importantly, things that relate to councillors and to the performance review of chief executives, etc., were kept locked in my desk, the same desk we're talking about. And I know Mark Blumsky and Dame Fran Wild would have done the same. And when you hand over to the next mayor and you hand over the keys, you explain why you've kept them and why they're in that part of the desk. So how it happened that the desk got, when the council moved from the town hall up onto the terrace offices, that these were not emptied appropriately and stored appropriately is really hard to understand. And now, as I said, the new chief executive is going to do a full investigation, and he should do. This is a terrible situation.
Yeah, okay, full investigation. But Kerry, do you think there needs to be some form of urgent review right now into how documents are handled at council?
Look, Michael, I can't comment on that. It's a whole new world since I left in 2011. I'm sure documents are looked after appropriately, but in these days, as I said, everything was in hard copy, and the conversations between chief executives and the mayor, between councillors and the mayor, code of conduct, all these sorts of things were kept at that stage appropriately locked in my desk, in Mark's desk, and in Fran's desk. The situation that they weren't cleared out is what is a terrible situation, appalling. And, I'll just echo what Dame Fran has said. She and I found out via the media that's not the way this council should be operating.
Yeah, it's pretty shonky, that's for sure. Dame Kerry Prndergast, former Wellington Mayor, really appreciate your time in Herald Now this morning. Thank you so much for your time. It is 7:32 a.m. Let's go to Neve with the news.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington City Council is investigating after hundreds of confidential documents ended up in the hands of a man who bought an old mural desk at the city's dump. The documents include termination agreements, a sexual harassment claim, and staff pay details dating between 1988 and the early 2000s. The man tried to contact the council and claimed officials didn't take much notice. Herald reporter Ethan Manera says the council originally did not believe it to be true.
They told us when we first contacted them that it looked like a bit of social media mischief. When we presented them with the evidence after obtaining the documents, they've now launched formal investigation and notified the Privacy Commissioner.
Kiwis of retirement age may soon find themselves sitting on a jury despite currently being exempt. Currently, those 65 or over can ask to be excused from jury service permanently without reason. But a select committee has recommended a bill from National's Carl Bates pass into law, which would raise the age of exemption to 72. The bill will return to Parliament for a second reading. New polling suggests Kiwis are in favour of major changes to the electricity market. The Courier poll, commissioned by the Auckland Business Chamber and Octopus Energy, found 49% of Kiwis support splitting Jen Taylor's retail and generation arms. 62% want the government to underwrite new generation projects. Chamber CEO and former Energy Minister Simon Bridges says things have changed drastically since he was in the role, and the government needs to act fast. Making better use of Eden Park could see it make a bigger contribution to Auckland's GDP. An independent report found the park boosted Auckland's GDP by $37 million in the 2023-24 year. It argues that if Eden Park made use of its 12 concert limit, That figure could almost treble to $107 million. Kiwis are calling for more government protection from global catastrophes. An Otago University study reveals 2/3 of New Zealanders want the government to develop strategies to deal with catastrophic disasters like nuclear war, bioengineered diseases or rogue artificial intelligence. Professor Nick Wilson says we must make use of New Zealand's unique positioning in a far-flung part of the world. The Nationals RSA's Anzac Day poppies will no longer be made in New Zealand, switching to UK paper-based ones from next year. They've been made by volunteers in Christchurch for years. However, the purpose-built machine is nearing its end of life. The Veterans Organisation says the plastic-based poppies were also causing issues for caretakers at cemeteries and memorials as they became caught up in lawnmowers. It says it looked for a New Zealand manufacturer, but no option could be found that wouldn't result in a significant increase in the cost of production.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Gold for the men's pair of Oliver Welsh and Ben Taylor at the Rowing World Championships in Shanghai, a first step at the Los Angeles Olympic cycle. Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt has questioned any doom and gloom All Blacks verdicts as they prepare for tomorrow's opening Bledisloe Cup rugby test at Eden Park, saying people forget they were in the contest against Springboks until the hour mark. And third-placed Hawke's Bay have beaten 12th-ranked Auckland 45-28 to open round 9 of rugby's NPC.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora, those northern parts of the country, the place to be today with plenty of dry weather for Auckland and Northland. But you can see down in the south, we have got this band of clouds stretched across the South Island, bringing some wetter weather up through there and also some stronger winds as well, especially ahead of that front as it moves northwards. So that wet weather moves up in towards Buller, the Tasman region, and for the afternoon it runs in towards parts of, say, Wellington, Taranaki, and by evening time it's up in the far northern parts of the country. But ahead of it, we'll find some stronger winds, especially for the next few hours for parts of Westland and Canterbury, and generally a windy day in Wellington and southern Wairarapa. We'll keep hold of a fair number of showers through Southland and Otago, perhaps some of those fairly heavy, with the odd chance of some hail or thunder around the coast for this afternoon. Wet weather sticks with us on that western coast, heavy and thundery. We'll also find a few showers running through parts of Canterbury, but it stays windier, I think, for the afternoon, with those winds picking up through the Canterbury Plains. The wet weather moves northwards in towards Wellington, Taranaki as we head through the morning time. I think some sharper showers perhaps on that western coast, and a windy story for Wellington, Wairarapa, and for the afternoon even through Hawke's Bay and Tairafti. The wind's picking up in Taupo as well, with more cloud and perhaps an evening shower. Up in the far north, though, generally a fine, dry-looking story. Plenty of sunshine. It does turn cloudier for the afternoon, and we will find perhaps an odd evening shower, but most of the day staying dry, and top temperatures in Auckland of 18 degrees Celsius.
You're watching Herald Now. I'm Michael Morra. As leaders meet for the 80th UN meeting in New York this week, the atrocities on the people in Gaza have continued. During the latest massacre, an airstrike near a market in Gaza City killed at least 22 people. The dead included 9 children. Tomorrow, Foreign Minister Winston Peters will finally reveal New Zealand's position on recognising Palestinian statehood. Someone watching this closely is cardiac surgeon Dr. Kerr, who since 2001 has completed 45 separate volunteer missions to Gaza to operate on children with heart disease, saving nearly 1,000 Palestinian lives. And a new documentary out now shines a spotlight on his remarkable work and reveals how his wife Hazel made it all possible. It's called The Doctor's Wife. Well, Dr. Alan Kerr is with me now. Thanks so much for your time, Alan. Just first up, how are you feeling about the current situation in Gaza and the atrocities being visited on the people there at the moment?
We're just desolated by what's going on there. Many of the people there the children we operated on there will now be young adults, and we're unable to contact them.
So do you suspect, Alan, that some of those babies who you saved over many years have been killed in this conflict?
I think almost certainly a number of them will have been. We have no way of contacting these people at the moment.
The UN has said that genocide is occurring. From what you have seen, do you agree with this assessment? And how cruel is some of the attacks on especially young people? Because it's children and young people who you and your wife spent most of your voluntary time helping, right?
Yes, that's correct. It's just heartbreaking to see what's happening. When we see accounts of people in the hospital that we worked in being operated on now without even anaesthetic. It's just a terrible situation.
Now, Winston Peters will announce tomorrow whether New Zealand will recognise Palestinian statehood. Are you surprised, Ellen, that it's taken us this long?
Yes, I am. I think that New Zealand in the past has been a leader in these kinds of situations, and I think it's disappointing that it's taken so long. But I hope he does finally get ahead and do this.
Yeah, I'm sure that will happen, but we find out tomorrow, Saturday, around midday. Now, Ellen, tell me about the documentary, The Doctor's Wife. How long has this been in the making?
It's been in the making since 2007. I started working there in Gaza. I was operating in Gaza City at the Shifa Hospital on 9/11, but journalists weren't allowed into Gaza then, and the documentary started when Paula Fetty-Jones joined us, and she subsequently made 6 visits over between 2007 and 2018. The last 3 of them in a wheelchair after she became paraplegic.
I mean, that's incredible. So, 6 visits. So a lot of work has gone into this. Now, it's called The Doctor's Wife. Can you tell me, I've met Hazel before, but how did she what did she do while there in Gaza with you? And how do you think that she assisted your work there?
Well, she assisted my work just by being there. I wouldn't have gone without her. She had to find things to do, and she's remarkably resilient in doing that. In Gaza, she worked in a wonderful hospital for deaf children, not hospital, a school for deaf children, teaching dance drama, which she had done in Mount Eden for several years. When we moved to East Jerusalem in 2004, she worked in a refugee camp, the Shufat camp, which is in Jerusalem, again with kids doing dance drama, wonderful children, and also work in a school, a Bedouin school in the desert.
And Ellen, I mean, you're retired now, but you did those sort of 40 separate missions in your career. At what point would cardiac doctors like yourself be able to re-enter Gaza? And is this the sort of intention? Is this what you're raising money for through this documentary, to get more specialists back in there?
It was actually 40 visits, not 47, but the work we did was in East Jerusalem, which has been annexed by Israel. So the hospital, the Makasset Hospital in East Jerusalem, is still intact. The people that we trained are mostly still there, and all the equipment that we developed from things like USAID, which is now non-functional, is still all ready to go. We have a team of people here in New Zealand who have been there many times, and they're all set to go again. We've been raising money through the film to fund this, and we currently have enough to fund, I think, at least 2 further visits. We've also just in the last few days provided money through an American organisation called Heal Palestine to buy $30,000 worth of tents to house the people who are presently streaming south in their thousands from Gaza City as the Israelis attack there.
Well, that's fantastic stuff, and look, I'm really looking forward to seeing that documentary. That is Dr. Alan Kerr, retired cardiac surgeon. Thank you so much for joining us on Herald Now this morning, Alan. Well, it's time to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. Fonterra's bosses say the cooperative can be back at current profit levels 3 years after it sells its mainland group. Garth Bray joins me from Business Desk now. So,
morning, Michael.
G'day, how are you, mate?
Yeah.
So, Fonterra's confident it can turn the same profit with a smaller business?
Basically saying that by reducing costs and by switching some of the milk supply to higher value ingredients, these are like your protein powders that are all the rage if you like to bulk up and get those gains, or if you are in aged care, for older people who just need a bit of extra nutritional support, and they're saying that's a big option for them to kind of lift the value of what they're doing, and they'd put some of the money that they expect to get from this into developing a couple of plants. There's one, I think, at Studholme down near Waimate in the South Island that would, there'd be $75 million going in there to try and make that better able to do more of this sort of stuff. I mean, they're also saying that they're still confident that $10 a kilo of milk solids that they're predicting for this season will hold up, even though we're seeing, with higher prices, a lot of extra supply coming in from North America and South America. So they're saying, hey, those farmers are saying, great, this is an opportunity for us to supply more milk to the world. Normally that would bring prices down, but Miles Hurrell seems to think, no, we can still maintain that $10 a kilo payout into the next season, which is sort of good news for farmers going forward and supports that picture. I guess the only caveat to that they're putting is a bit of geopolitics, which I think is code these days for what will Trump do? Will he start whacking tariffs on things or subsidising farmers over there more? Or could all of this stuff we were just hearing about from Gaza or from Ukraine potentially affect world trade, world supply, world demand?
Yeah, I mean, is that already, that must be producing a lot of uncertainty at the moment.
Yeah.
And what sort of impact could that have?
Well, I guess that's the imponderable. One analyst I spoke to yesterday said trying to pick where milk prices will go in the future is a bit of a fool's game because there are so many factors, but arguably, he said Miles Hurrell is probably one of the best placed people in the world to try and have a view about that. So, we'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah, totally. Well, just on that point about geopolitics and there's some finance news that could assist Ukraine's war effort.
Right, because there are a bunch of funds. We're talking nearly 140 billion euros. That's about 400 million bucks. Frozen of Russian funds that are frozen in sort of clearance accounts in the EU system. This is in euros. And the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, is saying, look, okay, we don't want to necessarily just take that out and give it to Ukraine, right? That would devalue the euro. That would be a risk. Others would see the euro as a risky currency if that's the kind of behaviour we do. But we could borrow against that, raise loans and lend that money to the Ukrainian war effort, backed by other EU partners and potentially some of the G7 who've got, other big economies that have got frozen funds. And that would, potentially provide a sort of a funding lifeline for Ukraine's war effort. More likely, it'd be a really big lever that Putin might see as a signal to get back to the negotiating table in a serious way. So it's a pretty big diplomatic call there and a big financial call there from finance, from the head of Germany.
Yeah, totally. And the NZX is expecting a new listing. What is Manuka Resources?
Yeah, a bit of local news here. This is Manuka Resources and is an Australian small miner of silver and gold, and they've also got some permits to do some vanadium, iron ore, seabed mining off the coast of South Taranaki. Bit controversial. I think there's plenty of environmental groups, fishing companies who say, what's this going to do to the seabed and the ecosystem around here, iwi, who aren't too happy. And there's also a wind farm, offshore wind farm that says we'd rather have that spot. But they are doing what's called a foreign exempt listing. They're already on the Australian Stock Exchange, so they're sort of just basically patching across. But it's the first kind of new listing that we've really seen on the NZX for quite some time. I think you have to go back to like Winton Land or Black Pearl 4 or 5 years ago since we've seen a direct listing. It's been a bit short, so bit of a small sign of celebration for our local market today.
Yeah, absolutely. Some progress indeed. Garth, always good to see you, mate. That is Garth Bray from Business Desk, and we talk business every day with our partners 2 Degrees. Right, well, let's head to Christchurch, where a group of people are running for 72 hours straight to raise awareness about mental health and the number of men who make up our suicide stats. Back when the organisers launched this Run 72 event, men made up 72% of suicides in New Zealand. They now make up 76%. Joining us now live from the event is Oscar Bloom, Run 72 organiser. Hey Oscar, really good to have you with us. What is this run all about and what are you trying to achieve?
This run for us is just all about creating a community vibe, community awareness around mental health, especially in Canterbury, especially at the University of Canterbury, and finding different ways through different tools of support, different funding mechanisms to be able to help people to get the support they need, to get the community engagement and that feeling of whānau that they need as well, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. I mean, so you're running for 72 hours straight. Surely that's not one person running the entire time? I mean, how does it exactly work?
So basically, it's thousands of people that come down and run on the track. We always make sure there's at least one person on the track, but there's probably at least 100 at every hour of the day. It's incredible. We have well over 100 runners on track at the moment, and basically that just keeps on going for 3 days straight, which is really amazing. And so we have lots of different people from lots of different communities coming and getting amongst it, which is just great for the student community and great for our community's mental health.
Yeah, totally. And so on that mental health effort, how do people donate?
So people donate by going to just looking up Run 72 Raisley or donate to Run 72. They go online, they can donate to teams, they can donate to people who are fundraising that they know, they can donate into anything that they really want, or they can make their own fundraising pages and do it that way. It's a really simple process, it's really simple online, and any dollar counts and goes towards some really impactful work that Lads That Labels does, and also to a support fund for all students at the University of Canterbury.
Hey, great stuff. Oscar Bloom, Run 72 organiser, and to donate, go to their website. Coming up, we're celebrating the country's short film movie makers and a shock departure from TVNZ. All that and a lot more after this quick break.
You Do It DIY can make your new dream kitchen a reality. As a trusted Kiwi manufacturer for 44 years, You Do It has made it easy to design, order and assemble your own dream kitchen, offering a range of colour options and flexible sizing. With excellent online support, our customers all agree that You Do It makes DIY easy, delivering superb quality at a great price. Get your project started today at newsroom.co.nz.
We have completed 4 builds with GJ. Every time we want to think of building, we always go back to GJ.
It's a really good experience throughout the whole process.
They deliver what they promise on, and it feels like working with a family member. It's very easy and trustworthy to work with GJ.
I'm Hayden Scott, and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life, I was a chef. Did that for 25 years. But I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time. And so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker, I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Know more of the story with Herald Premium, giving you full access to in-depth news, opinion and analysis, with more world news, business insights, and investigative reports from our world-class team of journalists. Plus subscriber-only functionality to comment on stories, access newspaper e-editions, gift articles, and enjoy crosswords and puzzles. Subscribe now to Herald Premium.
Welcome back. You're watching Herald Now. Well, we've had the equinox, the clocks go forward this weekend, the kowhai is in bloom. This week has well and truly felt like spring. Joining us now is Met Service meteorologist John Law. So John, thanks very much for being with us. Is this spring weather set to continue?
Kia ora, Michael. Yeah, very much so. It's been a real classic spring week. Plenty of windy weather, plenty of showers, and those temperatures all over the place. We've got snow down south, but even as we head through the weekend, we'll find temperatures up to about 20 degrees in some parts of New Zealand. So we're going to keep hold of this pattern at least through the weekend and even through and towards perhaps the start of next week as well.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the forecast for the coming few days, though. It looks a bit gnarly, potentially affecting that All Blacks game. So we're not quite done with the windy weather yet.
No, not at all. In fact, it's a pretty windy start this morning. It's particularly on that western coast of the South Island. Gusts at places like Cape Foulwind, living up to its name, around about 100 kilometres an hour at the moment through there. And a windy day for us here in Wellington, to a severe weather watch out for those areas. As we head in towards tomorrow, finding those northwesterly winds still sticking with us as well.
Yeah, so do we need raincoats at Eden Park tomorrow, do you think?
I think we are going to need to keep them close by, particularly as we head through the afternoon on Saturday. The weekend is going to be one of those east-west splits across the country with more showery weather on those western sides. And I think, particularly for Saturday afternoon, could be one or two sharper ones running through Auckland. Hopefully, by the time we get towards the end of the game on Saturday afternoon, evening time, we'll find the worst of those showers clearing through. But I think keep those raincoats close to hand for the game itself.
Okay, good advice. Well, the clocks go forward early Sunday morning. Are we able to get out and enjoy an extra hour of evening sunshine, John?
Well, the best news is, I think for many of us, Sunday is looking like the better day of the weekend. There's plenty of clear sky and sunshine still with us. I think we're going to find a touch more cloud on those western coasts, but with more northwesterly winds, those areas in the east actually get a bit of a boost in their temperatures. So places like Christchurch and Canterbury pretty nicely by the time we head through towards Sunday afternoon. But some spots like Napier and Hastings seeing their temperatures rise to around about 24 degrees by the time we head through towards the afternoon on Sunday. That's about 7 degrees warmer than normal for this time of year.
John Law, Met Service meteorologist, thanks as always for your time this morning. Well, in a shock move, TVNZ's chairman is leaving early, a little over 2 years into the role, plus the Traitors Australia is set to relocate to New Zealand. All of this in today's Media Insider. NZME Editor-at-Large Shane Curry is with us now. So what's happening with TVNZ's chairman, Shane?
Morning, Michael. Yeah, we received an Official Information Act response this week from Treasury, which revealed that for the last few months, Treasury's actually been looking for a new chairperson of TVNZ. They revealed that in June, Alistair Carruthers, the current chair, put forward his early retirement plans. He was on a 3-year tenure at TVNZ, was due to finish up in July next year, but is going to be now leaving in the next few weeks, couple of months. It does sound like they have a new chairperson lined up, and I'm just digging around now in terms of who that is. But certainly... So
have they got like a series of possibles? Or
no, I think what they've been through, this process has actually been running in the background since June. Paul Goldsmith, the Media and Communications Minister, has taken advice from his caucus colleagues and from the Coalition. And that's a kind of position that Winston Peters, David Seymour, they will all have an opinion on who should be leading the public broadcaster, right? I mean, it's under a lot of scrutiny at the moment. The media companies generally are, but the public broadcasters in particular, RNZ and TVNZ, are coming in for some extra scrutiny around accusations of being biased. Now, you hear that from politicians a lot, but of course, David Seymour and Winston Peters, both of them in particular, have pinpointed particular areas of both RNZ and TVNZ in recent times. And so Alistair Carruthers has had to deal with all of this in the background in the last 3 years. He has obviously also led TVNZ through a pretty tumultuous, turbulent period where they've lost a lot of top shows, they've lost a lot of staff, but they have actually turned around their financial performance and they returned to profit in their most recent financial year.
Who do you think would have the skills and talent necessary for this role?
Well, I think they certainly will be looking for someone with a very strong commercial background, not necessarily media at all. They are looking for someone who can take TVNZ into continue on with their 5-year digital plan. So that means coming into pay television a lot more. TVNZ Plus is getting a massive overhaul. So I suspect it will be someone who will have the digital nous, but also a lot of commercial experience. And look, there are some big roles in New Zealand and people who are coming up to the end of their tenure in the commercial industry. And now, I'm not necessarily saying it's Greg Foran or anyone like that, but I think it'll be people of that ilk that they'll be looking at.
Yeah, right, really interesting. And Traitors Australia is coming to New Zealand.
Yeah, that's a big show, of course, around the world now, the Traitors, and New Zealand's own version, Season 3, is underway now in terms of production. And I found out this week that the Traitors Australia show, which hasn't had as great a run over the Tasman, has actually been picked up by South Pacific Pictures here in Auckland and will be produced in South Canterbury in the same place that they produce the Traitors New Zealand. Now, that's great for our local screen industry. They will no doubt be benefiting from the screen production rebate, which gives them around 20% rebate through the public support, and that's also another factor as to why it might have moved across the Tasman.
Okay, and you've got some insider knowledge about the new NZME director.
Yeah, well, Jim Grennan, and of course, Mr. Grennan's been, part of headlines now for the last 6 months, but another NZX announcement yesterday that he'd acquired another 1 million shares, and that takes his holdings in NZME now up to just under 18.5%. Still under that.
Significant.
Very significant, just under the biggest shareholder, that's Spheria Asset Management. They're on 19%, that's the Australian fund. But certainly still under that 20%, which would spark rules under the Takeover Code if he wanted to progress any further. So yeah, very significant that there's now two very big, cornerstone shareholders in the media business, whereas before we didn't really have shareholders with that greater percentage.
Okay, and what about this Media Council ruling with TVZ?
Yeah, yes. Now that's been a subject of a lot of debate this week. It's a Media Council ruling in regards to a Rotorua Daily Post story earlier this year, in which on the 50th anniversary of the Mona Blades disappearance, the Rotorua Daily Post story recounted a lot of the theories in terms of the disappearance of Mona Blades, some of the suspects that police looked into over the past 5 decades, and that included a former police officer. Now, that former police officer's family took exception to that story, and the Media Council sided with the daughter of the police officer and said that the newspaper breached the Media Council principles in that it was unfair to the family to relitigate that their father had been a suspect in the case. Now, that's raised a lot of questions as to whether the newspaper firstly was right to do so. The former editor of the New Zealand Herald, Gavin Ellis, this morning in the Media Insider column has said this decision is rather chilling. It backs up comments from the Media Council members themselves, those who dissented in the decision, who said they don't agree with the majority's view, and that media, journalists, should have the right to relay information that's already in the public domain.
Absolutely. Shane Curry, always appreciate your insights. That is Shane Curry, New Zealand Herald editor at large. Well, it is 8 o'clock on the dot and you're watching Herald Now. Good morning and welcome to Herald Now. I'm Michael Morra. Brilliant to have you with us today on the show. Can the All Blacks come back from an historic loss and win against the improving Aussies? The Herald's rugby analyst Gregor Paul's with us to talk about the big match tomorrow. The property market's showing signs of green shoots. Could a turnaround finally be upon us? Our real estate experts on our panel shortly. And we're celebrating New Zealand's short film industry as the popular film festival marks a milestone. It's 1 minute past 8. Let's go to Neva with the latest headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington City Council is investigating after hundreds of confidential documents ended up in the hands of a man who bought an old mural disc at the city's dump. The documents include termination agreements, a sexual harassment claim, and staff pay details dating between 1988 and the early 2000s. The man tried to contact the council and claimed officials didn't take much notice. Herald reporter Ethan Manera says the council originally did not believe it to be true.
They told us when we first contacted them that it looks like a bit of social media mischief. When we presented them with the evidence after obtaining the documents, they've now launched formal investigation and notified the Privacy Commissioner.
Kiwis of retirement age may soon find themselves sitting on a jury despite currently being exempt. Currently, those 65 or over can ask to be excused from jury service permanently without reason. But a select committee has recommended a bill from National's Carl Bates pass into law, which would raise the age of exemption to 72. The bill will return to Parliament for a second reading. New polling suggests Kiwis are in favour of major changes to the electricity market. The Courier poll, commissioned by the Auckland Business Chamber and Octopus Energy, found 49% of Kiwis support splitting Jen Taylor's retail and generation arms. 62% want the government to underwrite new generation projects. Chamber CEO and former Energy Minister Simon Bridges says things have changed drastically since he was in the role, and the government needs to act fast. Making better use of Eden Park could see it make a bigger contribution to Auckland's GDP. An independent report's found the park boosted Auckland's GDP by $37 million in the 2023-24 year. It argues that if Eden Park made use of its 12 concert limit, that figure could almost treble to $107 million. Kiwis are calling for more government protection from global catastrophes. An Otago University study reveals 2/3 of New Zealanders want the government to develop strategies to deal with catastrophic disasters like nuclear war, bioengineered diseases or rogue artificial intelligence. Professor Nick Wilson says we must make use of New Zealand's unique positioning in a far-flung part of the world. The Nationals RSA's Anzac Day poppies will no longer be made in New Zealand, switching to UK paper-based ones from next year. They've been made by volunteers in Christchurch for years. However, the purpose-built machine is nearing its end of life. The Veterans Organisation says the plastic-based poppies were also causing issues for caretakers at cemeteries and memorials as they became caught up in lawnmowers. It says it looked for a New Zealand manufacturer, but no option could be found that wouldn't result in a significant increase in the cost of production.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Gold for the men's pair of Oliver Welsh and Ben Taylor at the Rowing World Championships in Shanghai, a first step at the Los Angeles Olympic cycle. Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt has questioned any doom and gloom All Blacks verdicts as they prepare for tomorrow's opening Bledisloe Cup rugby test at Eden Park, saying people forget they were in the contest against Springboks until the hour mark. And third-placed Hawke's Bay have beaten 12th-ranked Auckland 45-28 to open round 9 of rugby's NPC.
Okay, and in breaking news, don't forget, this weekend is daylight savings. Everyone always forgets what to do and which way the clock goes. It goes forward, it's on Sunday. And here's a piece of advice that's come out from Westpac New Zealand. They're reminding all New Zealanders to check if they still need all their paid TV subscriptions, and not a bad piece of advice because their research shows that customers are paying for TV subscriptions are spending an average of $33 a month, up nearly 20% on the same time last year. So while you're putting your clocks forward, have a bit of a spring clean of all your electronics too. Here's weather.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora, those northern parts of the country, the place to be today with plenty of dry weather for Auckland and Northland. But you can see down in the south, we have got this band of clouds stretched across the South Island, bringing some wetter weather up through there and also some stronger winds as well, especially ahead of that front as it moves northwards. So that wet weather moves up in towards Buller, the Tasman region, and for the afternoon it runs in towards parts of, say, Wellington, Taranaki, and by evening time it's up in the far northern parts of the country. But ahead of it, we'll find some stronger winds, especially for the next few hours for parts of Westland and Canterbury, and generally a windy day in Wellington and southern Wairarapa. We'll keep hold of a fair number of showers through Southland and Otago, perhaps some of those fairly heavy, with the odd chance of some hail or thunder around the coast for this afternoon. Wet weather sticks with us on that western coast, heavy and thundery. We'll also find a few showers running through parts of Canterbury, but it stays windier, I think, for the afternoon, with those winds picking up through the Canterbury Plains. The wet weather moves northwards in towards Wellington, Taranaki as we head through the morning time. I think some sharper showers perhaps on that western coast, and a windy story for Wellington, Wairarapa, and for the afternoon even through Hawke's Bay and Tairafti. The wind's picking up in Taupo as well, with more cloud and perhaps an evening shower. Up in the far north though, generally a fine dry looking story, plenty of sunshine. It does turn cloudier for the afternoon, and we will find perhaps an odd evening shower, but most of the day staying dry, and top temperatures in Auckland of 18 degrees Celsius.
I'm Michael Morra. Thanks for joining us on Herald Now this morning. The All Blacks are set to face off against the Wallabies this weekend after their slaughtering against the Springboks a few weeks ago. So how will they perform? Gregor Paul, rugby analyst, joins us now. Hey, thanks so much for being with us, Gregor. So just first of all, I mean, how much of a blow is it to lose the captain, Scott Barrett?
Well, probably not as significant as might have previously been considered if this was a couple of years ago when Scott Barrett was arguably the best lock in the world. But at the moment, I don't think he's been playing particularly well. I think he's been troubled by niggly injuries. I think he's carrying the captaincy quite heavily. And in Ardie Savea, the guy who'll take over, he's done it, 10, 11, 12 times, whatever it is. Like, I don't think it will be that significant. I think it's an opportunity for Barrett to get himself right, to get his body right, to have a bit of mental relief and come back next week.
Yeah, and so is Ardie, taking over the captaincy? I mean, is he a pretty inspirational leader? Has he got what it takes to fire the All Blacks up for this really critical match?
Well, have you seen him play?
Yeah, absolutely.
You could probably drop an alien in from a different planet, sit them down, watch a game of rugby, and they go, "Who's that guy wearing the number 7? He looks better than everyone else." Clearly he's inspirational in the way that he plays. Clearly he's inspirational in the way he lives his life, the way he carries himself, the manner that he has. I mean, all of these factors. There's an argument here about whether he should actually just be doing this job anyway, not just this weekend. But in terms of a captaincy role, I don't think the All Blacks lose anything by having him doing it this week.
The All Blacks always back up after a loss. So what will be the All Blacks' focus to restore their pride in the black jersey after being thumped by South Africa? Like, where do you think their strategy is ahead of Saturday?
Well, I'd probably back up a wee bit. I don't know if they always back up from a loss. That's probably not quite right. And it's an important point because we have this assumption that this is what will happen, that they live in this cyclical world where they get beaten, they win, they get beaten, they win. Look, I think that's clearly to turn their fortunes around this week, will have to be accurate. I mean, they were massively inaccurate in Wellington. They lacked intensity at times across everything that they did. But really, it's probably about getting cohesive understanding about what they're trying to do. That looks a bit vague to me. The players don't look certain about the game plan that they have. They don't look sure about what they're doing in different parts of the field. All that kind of technical stuff as well, in terms of how far do they kick the ball, how deep do they play when they're trying to attack against, how do they take the ball up in the traffic. All of these things look uncertain, and that's presumably what they've been doing this week, is getting clarity in all of that. But really, it's about accuracy. Catch the high ball, kick it in the right places, make good tackles. It's not that difficult to know what they need to do.
Yeah, okay. So just with coach Scott Robertson, I mean, is he being out-coached at an international level at the moment? And if we have a dire performance this weekend, what does that mean in terms of his leadership?
Not sure if he's being out-coached per se. I mean, you clearly look at the All Blacks and go, well, they've got a lot of good players. They're not. If you line their players up against Australia's or South Africa's, you'd be thinking, well, New Zealand should really have a good chance of winning this game. There's a talent there. So then you look at, well, why is that not happening? Is it the coaching group? Well, at times, probably. You'd have to look at that. Are they putting the right players on the park? Have they got the right strategy? So I don't know if he's being out-coached as such, but he's clearly not getting a deep enough connection with the team at times to get them through 80 minutes of how they need to play. If they don't win this weekend, well, look, I mean, he's under a lot of pressure as All Blacks coach every day of his life. I don't know. There's an argument to say that the losses will be mounting in a similar degree to the way they were when New Zealand Rugby became concerned about his predecessor, Ian Foster, and they started to look pretty closely at making changes in his coaching team and indeed about moving him on. So a defeat will be a difficult thing to just brush off and say everything's going to come right, because there's also an Eden Park factor here. They haven't lost there, and I can't even remember now. Was it 31 years, 51 games, whatever it is? So that if that record goes and it gives the Wallabies a great chance to take back the Bledisloe, it will feel like the last pillar of an empire is about to fall over. So look, I think there'd have to be some sort of serious review into what's going on if they don't win.
Yeah, okay. And so what are the chances? The Bledisloe Cup, as you've said, is the only trophy left in New Zealand's rugby cabinet. So is that on the line? What's your predictions, Gregor?
Well, it's clearly on the line because Australia can come and win the game, and that puts them in a chance to go back to Perth next week and take possession of the trophy. Australia are an improving team. Their trajectory's been good under Joe Schmidt. Obviously, it's not easy to win at Eden Park for visiting teams because no one's managed to do it for that long. But look, this is about as good an opportunity as I can recall Australia having in terms of where they're at in their growth, where New Zealand are, lack of confidence, all that kind of stuff. So that absolutely, this is a game that I think Australia have. This is the best chance I've seen in probably 20 years. I can't remember the last time you actually felt they could win it, but this is slightly different. I think they could, but probably going back to your earlier point, the All Blacks typically do respond after a defeat, and I would be surprised if they don't have enough venom in the tank to win.
Okay, Gregor Paul, thanks very much for your analysis as always. Well, New Zealand's biggest short film festival, Show Me Shorts, is returning to the screens next month, and it's celebrating 20 years of turning Kiwi filmmakers into household names. I'm joined now by Show Me Shorts Festival Director, Gina Delabarca. Thanks so much for being here, Gina, this morning. So just first of all, 20 years. Did you ever imagine it would get to this milestone?
No, the festival started with just some friends. It was a hobby project. We wanted to do something together, and the first year we just had one cinema here in Auckland, and now it's slowly built up over the last 20 years. We've got 40 cinemas nationwide across the country playing short films for everyone in Aotearoa.
It's really cool. So just how did it all sort of start with the festival? Like, you obviously came together with some mates back in the day, and how did that sort of evolve?
Yeah, so we knew that New Zealand short films were winning awards at festivals internationally, and New Zealand filmmakers have always had an amazing reputation internationally, but there really wasn't many opportunities to see those short films here at home. So that was always our aim, we were just film nerds that love watching films, and so we wanted to give other people, we knew there were other people like us who wanted to see those films here at home.
Why do you think New Zealand filmmakers have got that sort of international appeal or got that knack? What is it?
We're natural storytellers, I think. Like, we love to spin a yarn, and I think the influence of our Indigenous culture and the Pacifica oral storytelling traditions really play into that. So we love to hold court and tell people our stories.
What's some of your favourite success stories, if you like?
We've got some amazing filmmakers. There's people like Jackie Van Beek who've had, I think, 7 short films in our program over the years, and it's really a joy to watch those kind of filmmakers evolve their storytelling and go on to make feature films in the future.
And, I mean, people watching this might not really understand the production of films, but what goes into some of the efforts, if you like, or the time involved in creating these pieces?
Yeah, the screen industry here is so generous because our short films have amazing production values, and that's really down to the generosity of cinema, of hire centres and of editors and post-production houses who give their time to make these films really top quality.
So what is your recommendation from the current lineup?
So if you're new to short films, The Sampler is the best program for you. That's got a collection of some of the highlight films from this year's program, and you're going to see films that are inspiring and fun and just a great time. And if you've got more specific interests, there's a 20th anniversary retrospective this year that has a collection of films from our 20-year history, and that's where you'll get to see some nostalgic films like Uphill by Jackie Van Beek and The $6.50 Man by Mark Albiston. There's also a nightlife program with, there's a new New Zealand film called Flagfall by the musician Joe Lonnie, and it's about a haunted taxi cab. That's really fun. There's a lot of great highlights. It's such a great way to discover who are the new up-and-coming directors in the screen industry.
So it sounds like it's really broadened out from like a few years ago. You've got sort of different offerings and different categories, and by the sounds of it, a lot more people getting involved.
Yeah, one of the most popular categories these days is actually our whānau friendly collection, which is for primary school age children and their families to enjoy.
That sounds ideal.
This year that's got a DreamWorks film in it called, Wednesdays with Gramps, and it's about a little boy finding some commonality with his grandfather. That's a real highlight. So yeah, it's really gratifying that we're getting sent these top quality productions from Hollywood as well as all around the world and here at home.
Absolutely. Well, look, good luck with it all and well done, Gina. Thank you very much. That is Gina Delabarca, Show Me Shorts Festival Director. The festival premieres in Auckland on October the 7th. Well, up next, our panel's in to talk property market green shoots and how we should be securing confidential documents.
Building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GGs because they're good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Still can't get enough.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to nzherald.co.nz.
Ready? One Roof Property. Love where you live.
Speaker to the acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all? You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university. My message to the union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
I'm Michael Morra. Welcome to Herald Now. Great to have you with us this morning. Well, One Roof is giving away 3 brand new cars, and we at Herald Now are helping them do it. Go to oneroof.co.nz/win and enter the draw to win one of 3 2025 Suzuki Franks. 2 have already been given away, and there's still 1 to go. We'll announce the winner on Tuesday on Herald Now. Well, it's time to talk the big issues of the day. Simon Bridges, Auckland Business Chamber CEO, and Carmen Veselic, Velocity Global CEO. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. So first up, mood of the boardroom. Simon, your big takeaways from those cabinet rankings, I guess, was the big headline, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about Prime Minister Luxon and Nicola Willis, in the end, they're the face of the government, right? So, you know, in difficult times, and it has been difficult, lumpy, grumpy, no growth, tough economy, you can kind of understand, I think, explain those results. I think, you know, what is true
So you're saying that it's the global kind of uncertainty that's probably contributed to the difficulties he's having in reviving the
global and domestic, you know, and I do think, you know, I'm not letting them off scot-free. I do think in the end there is a requirement, and what the mood of the boardroom was saying, which I certainly agree with, there is a requirement for bold policy action, right? I think we've got to, though, get over our sort of, I'd call it the John Key disease, which is this idea that every Prime Minister has to be charismatic and connect to the public and so on. The average New Zealand Prime Minister doesn't actually. What we need is, I think Paul Keating said, is good policy is good politics, and I think the business community wants to see more of that good, strong, enabling pro-growth policies.
Yeah, Carmen, what do you think? Is that what businesses are searching for at the moment?
I mean, obviously it's a very crazy macroeconomic market when you think of what's happening around the world, but I think that we're still suffering so much from the good parent coming in and being the disciplinarian, because it's easy to be, you know, good cop, bad cop. It's easy to be the parent that has ice cream at 9 o'clock and, you know, on your device, and it's much harder to be, okay, you know, go to bed earlier and read a book. And it feels like we know that we've come in and been more disciplined and removed a lot of the wastage and the efficiency and really had to turn around so much and make so much change that is challenging and obviously takes time. Certainly as a business myself, one of the best things that we've seen is the international support to grow tech globally and export. And I had the privilege of going to India with the Prime Minister. No previous government came with us to say, actually, here's an opportunity to grow business. It means that we hire more people in New Zealand, we invest more in R&D. So it's working really well for businesses like myself.
We like ice creams though, Carmen.
We do, but it's easy to just keep spending. And I think, you know, if you think on spending on PR, spending on consultants, spending on lots of things, and then it's much harder to come in and say we're cutting costs and we're going to be disciplined and we're going to do the right things that might not be as shiny.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So Simon, I mean, Erica Stanford's been talked up in the mood of the boardroom. She's the top rated performer. Is she leadership material?
I think the reason for her result is quite simple. You know, actually people like what I was saying we need, which is, you know, kind of bold, strong strokes and policy. And she's been one of the ones who's been putting that out there. What I would say on the other side of it, and this is nothing to dismiss Erica Stanford at any level, is having been there, done that, it's one thing in your discrete portfolio areas to be a strong performer in doing those things. It's an entirely another beast to take on the top job, where suddenly it's coming at you from every direction, and you have to be not only an expert in immigration and education, but the economy and health and, you know, 79 other issues, which of course is what a Prime Minister and a level of Finance Minister have to do.
I know, it's a hell of a lot of work, right? And to be across so many different portfolios and aspects and contacts.
And I think it's surprising that you know, any leadership is top down. You know, when the All Blacks win, it's because it's a good coach, and when they lose, it's because of the coach's fault. So, you know, when Erica Stanford and all the other ministers get a great rating, surely that has to be attributed to the leadership, saying here's the KPIs, here's the strategy, go and execute and go and make a difference.
Yeah, look, I think that's a really fair point, Carmen. Now, I just want to talk about the real estate market. So, what are you seeing? This interests me a lot. Some green shoots, possibly.
Yeah, we're so excited because obviously, and I think we shared the data, and Velocity Power's one roof, and then, you know, it's certainly not been good news story, and it's actually super exciting. And we were thinking, okay, is it going to be the 7th of October as the bottom of the market with the 8th of October where everyone's expecting some rate relief? But actually, what we've seen over literally the last week is positive shoots of the values are actually starting to increase, and how that's calculated is we run an automated valuation model, so basically a digital valuation on every property using the latest sales, and we're really seeing that turn around. So while it's early days, it's very positive to see the confidence coming back in the market.
So where precisely is it going up? Because the latest I heard was that things were really bad in places like Auckland and Wellington, but starting to pick up in other areas. Did it go into that granular detail?
It did, and I think OneRoof's providing the detail, and actually 10 of the regions have improved, not all of the regions. Obviously, Queenstown's performing very well, but Auckland is one of those that has improved. Wellington hasn't. And a lot of that will be confidence that actually interest rates are going to come down and that, you know, the market's changing.
So is this good, Simon? Bit of a sign of stabilisation?
Oh, really good. I mean, in the end, whether it's right or not, what we know is if Kiwis feel confident about the fact that they've got some value in their house and it's kind of going up or in the right direction, they feel more confident about everything. You know, they're out there spending, they're out there doing the things we kind of need in the economy right now to feel better.
Okay, just quickly before we go to a break, and we've got another section after the break, but the All Blacks. Are you guys excited about this? Are you into it, Carmen?
I have to be into it as a South African born but Kiwi, so whether I like it or not.
That's actually the big question is not this game, but who did you support in Wellington when South Africa?
Simon, obviously, and kids are all Kiwi born, so definitely support the All Blacks, but otherwise the Springboks are always number 2. But yeah, I'm very excited.
So you were hooting and hollering at the television last weekend?
Yeah.
She had a schizophrenic personality going on. She wasn't really
sure.
You
always support
She
the
knew
All
the
Blacks.
right thing to do, but her heart was telling her different.
Well, my EA Sumari is a very devout South African Springbok supporter, so it's always interesting in the office. And then we have a team in Sydney, so it really makes for interesting Monday conversations.
Simon, do you think the All Blacks have as much relevance as they had maybe?
You're trying to get me cancelled in social media or something.
No. I mean, I think it's an important question. I mean, the Auckland FC seems to be all.
Yeah, and I think it's a relevant question. I mean, I think there's no doubt it's still number 1, but I think you make a good point. Look, if you think about Auckland, we are just so multicultural now. Over 4 in 10 Aucklanders were born offshore. I look at my kids, you know what the sport they're most into at the moment kind of is, and this is true for lots of kids around Auckland, it's basketball. You know, so you are seeing whether it's AFC, whether it's the Breakers, whether you're seeing all this other stuff creep in. There's more competition. That's more pressure on the All Blacks.
And it's getting more complicated. Like, who understands the rules of rugby? I mean, half the time you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, look, you're not the only one.
Well, no. I mean,
I'm going to admit this live.
Well, as men, we of course perfectly understand every single one of them, and have opinions on them all.
We know when the penalty happens.
Yeah.
Confidential documents found in an old mayor's desk and purchased by a Wellington man from the dump.
I know.
I mean, what's
in the drawers? I mean, it's just crazy. And I was listening on the way in when you had the former Wellington mayor. I think what's the disaster is that he actually rang and said, "Oh, by the way, I've got this," and they said he was really bad. And then to exacerbate that, NZ Herald rang and they said, "Oh no, this sounds like
sounds like a hoax."
It sounds like a hoax. So, yeah, I don't know what kind of calls that person's getting, but that's the kind of concerning part as well.
Yeah, pretty not ideal. I mean, you know, Simon, you'd know if you've got confidential documents or anything like that. I mean, what would you do with that sort of stuff?
I mean,
a council or central government, would you be feeding that stuff into a shredder?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a policy?
There's different bins, right? And you've got to get it in the right bin. I mean, I must admit, I might have been slightly lax about some of these things, but in the end, though, no, give me more. Let me put the defence up now. In the end, though, I did know one thing, and it's kind of what would Michael Mora do with this test, right? and so here, when you've got sexual harassment documents, employment cases, kind of bad behaviour in council, hey, I would have got those in the right bin, right?
Yeah, okay.
You've got to like this guy's style, though. By the way, the old guy's bought it. He's making a bar out of it. I mean,
He's all over social media, absolutely lovely.
15 minutes of fame.
Tell me, Simon, because I'm interested here. Have you had some documents that you've kind of been a little bit tardy in terms of the cleanup of them or something like that?
Oh no, no, look, and I'm still, I still live in a. No. Well, it's too late now anyway, right? But no, I mean, in the end, I just deal with so many documents still today. I'm not sitting there thinking, hey, this one is so sensitive when it's not. But I do think I know in the end, if it's kind of sensitive stuff, you've got to treat it sensitively. And that didn't happen here.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, I just want to go into this health announcement from Simeon Brown. There's been a lot of headlines lately about, the delays for tests, not enough colonoscopies. He's come out with this announcement, putting more than $60 million in to get more tests done quicker. Is this a sort of patch-up job, or is this going to really smooth things out in your mind?
I mean, if someone's got a health concern and they have to wait to find out more, then obviously that's really not good news, and especially if it's time sensitive. So I think it's only positive. And the fact that we're questioning it kind of points to a little bit of the media sound bites of the government of, is anything going to be good enough? Because if there's been a delay, and the good news is we're going to reduce the delays and we're going to spend more money, then that's just got to be happy days. And we know when you jump on a plane overseas, whether in Dubai, and I was in San Fran earlier this year, we're so far behind in terms of the technology and what's possible and the use of a lot of these tools. So I think it's fantastic news, and especially for anyone waiting.
And I just say, I know Simeon Brown well. He's a strong minister. The mood of the boardroom said so. He's relentlessly focused on outcomes and results. And so I think here, he's relentlessly focused on the waiting list. That's the right thing to be focused on. So I would back him to do a strong job in this, and I think we'll see that over time.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, guys. Hey, look, I really appreciate you both coming in and speaking to us on the panel this morning at Herald Now. Simon Bridges, Auckland Business Chamber CEO, and Carmen Visilic, Velocity Global CEO. Thanks very much for coming in, guys. It is 8:32 a.m. Let's go to Neva with the news.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington City Council is investigating after hundreds of confidential documents ended up in the hands of a man who bought an old mural disc at the city's dump. The documents include termination agreements, a sexual harassment claim, and staff pay details dating between 1988 and the early 2000s. The man tried to contact the council and claimed officials didn't take much notice. Herald reporter Ethan Manera says the council originally did not believe it to be true.
They told us when we first contacted them that it looks like a bit of social media mischief. When we presented them with the evidence after obtaining the documents, they've now launched a formal investigation and notified the Privacy Commissioner.
Kiwis of retirement age may soon find themselves sitting on a jury despite currently being exempt. Currently, those 65 or over can ask to be excused from jury service permanently without reason. But a select committee has recommended a bill from National's Carl Bates pass into law, which would raise the age of exemption to 72. The bill will return to Parliament for a second reading. New polling suggests Kiwis are in favour of major changes to the electricity market. The Courier poll, commissioned by the Auckland Business Chamber and Octopus Energy, found 49% of Kiwis support splitting Jen Taylor's retail and generation arms. 62% want the government to underwrite new generation projects. Chamber CEO and former Energy Minister Simon Bridges says things have changed drastically since he was in the role, and the government needs to act fast. Making better use of Eden Park could see it make a bigger contribution to Auckland's GDP. An independent report's found the park boosted Auckland's GDP by $37 million in the 2023-24 year. It argues that if Eden Park made use of its 12 concert limit, that figure could almost treble to $107 million. Kiwis are calling for more government protection from global catastrophes. An Otago University study reveals 2/3 of New Zealanders want the government to develop strategies to deal with catastrophic disasters like nuclear war, bioengineered diseases or rogue artificial intelligence. Professor Nick Wilson says we must make use of New Zealand's unique positioning in a far-flung part of the world. The National's RSA's Anzac Day poppies will no longer be made in New Zealand, switching to UK paper-based ones from next year. They've been made by volunteers in Christchurch for years. However, the purpose-built machine is nearing its end of life. The Veterans Organisation says the plastic-based poppies were also causing issues for caretakers at cemeteries and memorials as they became caught up in lawnmowers. It says it looked for a New Zealand manufacturer, but no option could be found that wouldn't result in a significant increase in the cost of production.
Herald NOW Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Gold for the men's pair of Oliver Welsh and Ben Taylor at the Rowing World Championships in Shanghai, a first step at the Los Angeles Olympic cycle. Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt has questioned any doom and gloom All Blacks verdicts as they prepare for tomorrow's opening Bledisloe Cup rugby test at Eden Park, saying people forget they were in the contest against Springboks until the hour mark. And third-placed Hawke's Bay have beaten 12th-ranked Auckland 45-28 to open round 9 of rugby's NPC.
Herald NOW Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora, those northern parts of the country, the place to be today with plenty of dry weather for Auckland and Northland. But you can see down in the south, we have got this band of clouds stretched across the South Island, bringing some wetter weather up through there and also some stronger winds as well, especially ahead of that front as it moves northwards. So that wet weather moves up in towards Buller, the Tasman region, and for the afternoon it runs in towards parts of, say, Wellington, Taranaki, and by evening time it's up in the far northern parts of the country. But ahead of it, we'll find some stronger winds, especially for the next few hours for parts of Westland and Canterbury, and generally a windy day in Wellington and southern Wairarapa. We'll keep hold of a fair number of showers through Southland and Otago, perhaps some of those fairly heavy, with the odd chance of some hail or thunder around the coast for this afternoon. Wet weather sticks with us on that western coast, heavy and thundery. We'll also find a few showers running through parts of Canterbury, but it stays windier, I think, for the afternoon, with those winds picking up through the Canterbury Plains. The wet weather moves northwards in towards Wellington, Taranaki as we head through the morning time. I think some sharper showers perhaps on that western coast, and a windy story for Wellington, Wairarapa, and for the afternoon even through Hawke's Bay and Tairafti. The wind's picking up in Taupo as well, with more cloud and perhaps an evening shower. Up in the far north, though, generally a fine, dry-looking story. Plenty of sunshine. It does turn cloudier for the afternoon, and we will find perhaps an odd evening shower, but most of the day staying dry, and top temperatures in Auckland of 18 degrees Celsius.
I'm Michael Morrow. Great to have you with us this morning on Herald Now. It's time to talk business thanks to our partners 2 Degrees. Well, Auckland's port is about to expand thanks to a successful fast-track approval. Garth Bray is with us live. So Garth, from the port. So Garth, what's happening down there?
G'day Michael, just decided to whip out of the office. Look, I'm standing right next to the end of Bledisloe North Wharf. This seawall you can see right here, over the next 14 to 16 months is going to be turned into an extension that will allow cruise ships to pull in here. This was achieved through the very first project to get fast-track approval through that law change that the government brought in. I was just speaking, actually Christopher Luxon, the Prime Minister's just turned up, so things are about to get underway with a ceremonial blessing to start all of this from Ngāti Whātua, the local iwi. But I asked the Port of Auckland CEO Roger Gray just a moment ago, what does this mean today?
It's the future for Auckland. We're going to be building this split new wharf and also extending Ferguson North. That's going to give us big ship capability and set the port up for the next 40 years. But pleasingly, we're also going to build a cruise terminal, which will be the entry point for Auckland and New Zealand, which is going to be fantastic.
When's that going to be ready? Cruise season started? Next cruise season?
Next cruise season. We're going to be, this wharf will be open during next cruise season. Terminal will be ready at the beginning of cruise season next year.
What are you spending?
We're spending 70 million on the wharf, probably about 30 million on the related area around the cruise terminal, and then another 100 million on dredging and the Ferguson North extension. So overall, 200 million investment.
And what's that going to be worth to the economy in the long run?
Well, it's going to be fantastic for Auckland because whilst it'll generate more cargo at the cargo end and more cruise visits here, it's also going to allow us to start to exit the ferry basin and get off Princess, and also allows us to start the process of selling back to the city, Captain Cook and Marsden.
Fast track, how crucial was that?
Fundamental. I mean, if you look at what's going on at the Port of Tauranga, they've been 6 years trying to get approval. We were 6 months. This is game changing.
When are you going to start the Ferguson thing? You haven't got a date set for that, have you?
Ferguson will start straight after we complete Bledisloe, so I expect to be doing that by the end of next year.
So I've been told that 2 hours after we finish here, about 10:30, the crews are actually going to be in and starting work on this. So that is a very quick result. I mean, a process that some people questioned whether it was too fast. I looked at the list of people that were invited, or groups that were invited to give correspondence on this fast-track approval. It was about 92 different entities, 50 different iwi and hapu groups, 18 or 20 different affected companies, government departments. So you would say that this has had some degree of scrutiny and that it's moving ahead now at pretty great pace. We'll have more, I suppose, later today on the Herald site from what's going on behind me there, the opening for all of this. But big news here at the port. Back to you, Michael.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks very much for that update, Garth, down there at the port. Garth Bray from Business Desk. And of course, we talk every day to our partners. We talk business every day thanks to our partners 2 Degrees. Well, as you'll know, the All Blacks are up against the Aussies at Eden Park this weekend. On News Talk ZB this morning, Mike Hosking caught up with All Blacks coach Scott Robertson. He started off by asking if the team is set to go.
A couple of changes, one injury force, but we've had a good week. We just want to get back into it after the week we had before, so it's a great occasion to do it.
Good. And how's that 2 week on, 2 week off thing working for you? Is that a thing? Have you enjoyed that? Is that a good idea or not?
Well, you have to have the week in between. There's no doubt about it, but it's so unique playing the same team twice. Like every second game's got its own storyline for what happened in the first game. You know, either hurt or you've been successful, and people adapt so quickly. And there's an art to that. That's why not everyone's quite got it right, because no one's won 2 in a row. And you know, we get a chance this week against a good Wallaby side.
Yeah, you make a very good point. See, as a casual lover of sport, I've actually thoroughly enjoying the competition, because I know you want to win every time, obviously, but what a great competition it is with every participant being a high-quality team, and that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, there's been an irony of it too. You've had a couple of blowouts, like world number 1 and 2, ourselves in South Africa, took a couple of points at the end of the game, a blowout, and then you've got the majority of the other games come down to one play games at the end, and as you said, that this entertainment factor, and it builds so so much connection. So the next week, Argentina play South Africa in Twickenham. That's pretty much sold out by understanding. So, the whole world are behind it, and I'm watching it, enjoying it.
Having said that 2 week on, 2 week off thing, you've just given a very good example, but your example, Nick, you got to jump on a plane and go to the other side of Australia, then play again. That's hard yards, isn't it?
Yeah, there's the old back-to-backs, but that's a part of it. It's a little bit different to sort of Rugby World Cups. You get sort of five or six big games. Well, at the back end you get 3 or 4 big games in a row, and then for this one, because you've got over six games in that period playing the same team, you've got to slightly adjust your team along the way, your tactics, because you're playing the same team. And they're all Southern Hemisphere teams. We know each other pretty well. And when you go and play, like the end of the year tour, last year we had 5 games, 5 week. And by the end of it, you play. You play in all different conditions. You're travelling, you're on and off buses and stuff. So you hardly even get to train in the end. You just got to keep fresh as you possibly can. This week off in the Whittle gives you that little bit of energy boost.
Yeah.
So again,
a couple of weeks ago, against the first South African side, there was this whole Eden Park thing, and we haven't lost this. Has that been a thing this week at all, if it ever was a thing or not?
It's a thing. It's definitely still a thing. It's a great gift you got given, because you've got people that have cared so deeply about performing in a place that sort of historically just keep mounting up from performance on performance. So when it comes to you, your gift is to earn it again, for people to see how much it cares for you. And obviously we've got Aussie this week, and you know what they're like, they're playing good, and you just get a rise to it. That's the key.
How good are the Australians, do you think?
We'll really find out tomorrow night. I think hands-on, just with the style we play, but they've got really refined structures. They kick well. They've brought some really good young players through who've got some speed, and their leaders are playing well. So they don't go away. So they're well coached. So they're a good package.
That was All Blacks coach Scott Robertson speaking on the Mike Hosking Breakfast Show on News Talk ZB this morning. We're coming up. We talk all things rural, and we look ahead to the stories you should watch today.
Do It DIY can make your new dream kitchen a reality. As a trusted Kiwi manufacturer for 44 years, You Do It has made it easy to design, order and assemble your own dream kitchen, offering a range of colour options and flexible sizing. With excellent online support, our customers all agree that You Do It makes DIY easy, delivering superb quality at a great price. Get your project started today at newsroom.co.nz.
We have completed 4 builds with GJ. Every time we want to think of building, we always go back to GJ.
It's a really good experience throughout the whole process.
They deliver what they promise on, and it feels like working with a family member. It's very easy and trustworthy to work with GJ.
I'm Hayden Scott, and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life, I was a chef. Did that for 25 years. But I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time. And so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker, I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Know more of the story with Herald Premium, giving you full access to in-depth news, opinion and analysis, with more world news, business insights, and investigative reports from our world-class team of journalists. Plus subscriber-only functionality to comment on stories, access newspaper e-editions, gift articles, and enjoy crosswords and puzzles. Subscribe now to Herald Premium.
Welcome back to Herald Now. Great to have you with us. We're going to go to rural news now. Countrywide Media CEO Sarah Perriam-Lamp is with me. Great to have you this morning, Sarah. So the New Zealand Cooperative Economy Report came out this week. What does it show us?
It's an interesting timing for the report because it is actually the United Nations International Year of the Cooperative. Cooperatives are quite predominant within the rural sector, but they actually do cross across banking, health and our grocery sector with the likes of Southern Cross and foodstuffs. But many in the rural sector will be familiar with cooperatives such as Ravensdown and, of course, the Troubled Alliance group at the moment. What the group is showing is the significance to our GDP of the cooperative model. 12.5% contribution to GDP from only a 1.5% workforce. It showcases that New Zealand is very unique in per capita of cooperatives and reflects really as a nation who we are in having so many of these models.
Okay, so what exactly about these models, the co-ops, make them such a strong pillar of the economy?
Well, I think they're very collaborative and they've always been formed from a shared challenge, very community driven and really feed back the value to our country and capture that value as opposed to offshore. Even though some like Zespri and Fonterra are export driven cooperatives, they do return that value here at home. But it's really interesting, and again, we talked to alliances, that they were set up, some of them, at a time when farmers were crying out for that shared collaboration. But things and business models have moved on, and also capitalising these models is really challenging.
Yeah, can you elaborate a bit more on those challenges?
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that capital raising is really hard and difficult, and the appetite from a straight banking model isn't as straightforward. And again, I come back to the challenge we're seeing there with Alliance, and we're seeing a lot of hybrid cooperative models, the likes of when Zhejiang, the Chinese investors within Silverfern Farms came in and bought. And so, therefore, it's around how they can grow. And so there is a lot of discussion at boardroom level at the moment around what does the future of cooperatives look like, but at the same time there is so much value and growth within that particular model, and there's a lot of conversations within Cooperative Business New Zealand and what it could look like and expanding into different industries.
And new surveys come out showing that there's still these challenges with mobile coverage in some rural areas. You'd think this would be sorted out by now in 2025. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting perception, isn't it, that, we're doing so well. We've had the ultra fibre broadband rollout. We have Starlink coming into rural, which has effectively been quite a game changer for many people. But Federated Farmers have recently conducted a survey of 600 farmers, and a lot of them are saying that potentially mobile coverage in their areas has actually reduced in quality. And so there's a real fear that particularly we're having the 3G shut-off very shortly by the end of this year. We're going to have the copper cut off by 2030. And so therefore, I think it hasn't really been a clear industry plan around, that last mile and who we're leaving behind, particularly as agriculture is digitally transforming and the impact of needing the internet within rural. I can genuinely say that yes, you can have coverage in certain areas, but it can drop out. And we certainly don't have the mobile coverage that I think our telcos think we do.
Yeah, so what is the message to the telcos, or what needs to be done in terms of government regulation? Do we just need heaps more of these cell towers out on the farms?
It is interesting because there is a lack of aligned leadership in the investment between the likes of Chorus and the current government into where does the government continue to invest in that last mile, and what is the role of the communities to also do this. Maybe potentially it's a little bit like water and taking community ownership around a key resource, but then again that is a question for the government. They have expectations on doubling exports, but they need to enable the infrastructure to allow for farmers to do that as well.
Okay, and finally, SurveyPep, what is this and what can it be used for?
Well, it's interesting. A colleague said to me once, who was from Ireland, you like to milk a lot of different types of animals in this country, and deer is not alone. Deer milk has been a novelty product, but it is really gaining a huge amount of traction internationally, where it is actually being highlighted as its incredible properties for sleep, and the peptoids within there are really able to have those psychological effects to be able to help us go to sleep. So dear old Bambi is coming to the rescue, but the Doze brand has been up in Asia, and it's taken their stand, they said, was one of the busiest at this expo, around the novelty of deer milk, but also the bioactive ingredients within that and how it can take on what is a huge wellness market around sleep.
Far out. So deer milk, do you reckon we're going to eventually see it on the supermarket shelves, Sarah?
Oh, potentially. I mean, these are pretty high value functional food products, nutraceutical type things, but it's definitely a global trend around the world, and where our nutraceutical kind of pharmacies and food as thy medicine trend is going globally. So it's really exciting for the New Zealand deer milk industry to see this evolution.
Absolutely it is. Countrywide Media CEO Sarah Perriam-Lamp, thank you so much for your time in Herald Now this morning. Well, autism advocates say Trump's rhetoric is fueling stigma and harming families. Chelsea Daniels, the Front Page podcast host, you've been across it, so who have you been speaking to?
Good morning. So I spoke to University of Otago Paediatrics and Child Health Science Officer Joanne Dacombe. She's actually deaf and autistic herself, and a huge advocate for support for the community. Basically, when Trump's claim came out of that increased autism risk from taking paracetamol while pregnant, I mean, medical experts around the world jumped into action, so to speak, to warn of these claims and debunk them immediately. Medical experts here have said it's quite scary, it's disturbing and really damaging to the community, and that's something that Joanne said as well. This rhetoric felt like a resurrection of that mother blaming of the 50s and 60s, where everyone blamed the mother's actions while pregnant, because her child has autism. But I mean, having autism as well isn't anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different way of seeing the world, a different way of being, and that's what Joanne told me.
Did Joanne also think it was dangerous? Because that's part of the problem with someone like Trump making these announcements which go global, is that some people will listen and act. And that's really dangerous, isn't it?
Some people will latch on and believe it. And she said that it's for the mothers as well. It second guesses them. They go through and think, oh gosh, what did I do? It's a condition that needs to be treated, eradicated. She said it isn't a disease and it's not a sickness. And I think we've got a clip for you here.
Well, because I am autistic, it's really tiring to have to justify my existence. Trump's announcement was a painful reminder for myself and many other autistics of how autistic people are often shamed and painted as a tragedy or a burden. But really, we just simply experience a natural variation of the human condition. And I guess we feel like we have to defend ourselves for the right to exist. And because some parts of the world or some people like Trump think that autism should be eradicated because we're seen as a problem, that we need to be solved through exploring causes and treatments, and basically he would look to eliminate us.
Yeah, so you've been looking into this announcement and speaking to Joanne there. I mean, what do you think is behind Trump's strategy, or why would he come out with this garbage?
Oh God, it has to be political at this point, right? I mean, given that there's been years and years of research pointing towards the fact that autism is genetic and not a result of environmental factors or paracetamol or Tylenol or whatever they call it over there, it has to be political at this point, right? Trump coming out and having this massive announcement. It's all the while where he's, off to the UN, rubbishing climate climate change claims, the whole Charlie Kirk situation. I mean, they're gunning towards the next election and they're trying to find all of those niche votes, I would assume.
And he's rapidly isolating himself in his own country at the same time. Chelsea Daniels from the Front Page podcast, thank you so much for bringing us up to date on that important issue. Well, still to come, the stories you need to look out for over the course of the day. That's next.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning. Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile. Not all of us get to experience this. Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, he's got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Oh, I also wanted to get something for my new kitchen while I was here.
Yeah, we've got plenty of great appliances for your kitchen.
Flavour.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
You're watching Herald Now. I'm Michael Morrow. Great to have you with us this morning. It is just gone 9 o'clock. Let's take a look at the developing news today. Katie Oliver, our Herald Now reporter, is here with us. So the Loafers Lodge trial, will we see a verdict today, do you think?
Yeah, look, so they've been deliberating. The jury went out on Wednesday and they've been deliberating since. Now, we're expecting to hopefully see a verdict today. We've got teams on standby down in Wellington. Now, this was, of course, for the fatal fire that killed 5 in 2023 in May. Now, it's not contested that the defendant lit the fire, but it is contested whether he was insane at the time. Now, the defendant has schizophrenia, and it is the defence that he was having a schizophrenic episode at the time he lit the blaze. Now, the Crown suggested that the defendant did not like living at Loafers Lodge, and that is why he lit the fire. But as I say, we've got teams on standby to find out if he will be found guilty there, Mike.
Okay, and if we get that result, of course, it'll all be up on nzherald.co.nz. So they went out on Wednesday, so that's actually, quite a bit of deliberations. Okay.
Yeah, so there's lots of toing and froing, and it'll just be interesting to see what comes of it.
Hey, daylight savings coming up. I always get confused every time this happens. I don't know about everyone else, but what do we need to do?
Yeah, so you've got to so time will spring forward by an hour, so you need to think about waking up at 6:30. That's actually going to be feeling like waking up at 5:30, whereas for our team, we'll be waking up at 3 and it'll feel like 2. So that's going to be great fun next week. But yeah, as you mentioned before, good time to do a spring clean of the subscriptions, of your TV subscriptions, but also a good time to check your smoke alarms. So yeah, that's coming this Sunday, so we're going to get longer days. It's not all doom and gloom. It's going to be a bit sunnier at night as well.
I love it. More light in the evening. That's fantastic. Katie Oliver, thanks so much for bringing us up to date with the very latest. Katie Oliver, our Herald Now reporter. Well, it is 1 minute past 9. Let's go to Neva with the news.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington City Council is investigating after hundreds of confidential documents ended up in the hands of a man who bought an old mural desk at the city's dump. The documents include termination agreements, a sexual harassment claim, and staff pay details dating between 1988 and the early 2000s. The man tried to contact the council and claimed officials didn't take much notice. Herald reporter Ethan Manera says the council originally did not believe it to be true.
They told us when we first contacted them that it looked like a bit of social media mischief. When we presented them with the evidence after obtaining the documents, they've now launched a formal investigation and notified the Privacy Commissioner.
Kiwis of retirement age may soon find themselves sitting on a jury despite currently being exempt. Currently, those 65 or over can ask to be excused from jury service permanently without reason. But a select committee has recommended a bill from National's Carl Bates pass into law, which would raise the age of exemption to 72. The bill will return to Parliament for a second reading. New polling suggests Kiwis are in favour of major changes to the electricity market. The Courier poll, commissioned by the Auckland Business Chamber and Octopus Energy, found 49% of Kiwis support splitting Jen Taylor's retail and generation arms. 62% want the government to underwrite new generation projects. Chamber CEO and former Energy Minister Simon Bridges says things have changed drastically since he was in the role, and the government needs to act fast. Making better use of Eden Park could see it make a bigger contribution to Auckland's GDP. An independent report's found the park boosted Auckland's GDP by $37 million in the 2023-24 year. It argues that if Eden Park made use of its 12 concert limit, that figure could almost treble to $107 million. Kiwis are calling for more government protection from global catastrophes. An Otago University study reveals 2/3 of New Zealanders want the government to develop strategies to deal with catastrophic disasters like nuclear war, bioengineered diseases or rogue artificial intelligence. Professor Nick Wilson says we must make use of New Zealand's unique positioning in a far-flung part of the world. The National's RSA's Anzac Day poppies will no longer be made in New Zealand, switching to UK paper-based ones from next year. They've been made by volunteers in Christchurch for years. However, the purpose-built machine is nearing its end of life. The Veterans Organisation says the plastic-based poppies were also causing issues for caretakers at cemeteries and memorials as they became caught up in lawnmowers. It says it looked for a New Zealand manufacturer, but no option could be found that wouldn't result in a significant increase in the cost of production.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Gold for the men's pair of Oliver Welsh and Ben Taylor at the Rowing World Championships in Shanghai, a first step at the Los Angeles Olympic cycle. Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt has questioned any doom and gloom All Blacks verdicts as they prepare for tomorrow's opening Bledisloe Cup rugby test at Eden Park, saying people forget they were in the contest against Springboks until the hour mark. And third-placed Hawke's Bay have beaten 12th-ranked Auckland 45-28 to open round 9 of rugby's NPC.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora, those northern parts of the country, the place to be today with plenty of dry weather for Auckland and Northland. But you can see down in the south, we have got this band of clouds stretched across the South Island, bringing some wetter weather up through there and also some stronger winds as well, especially ahead of that front as it moves northwards. So that wet weather moves up in towards Buller, the Tasman region, and for the afternoon it runs in towards parts of, say, Wellington, Taranaki, and by evening time it's up in the far northern parts of the country. But ahead of it, we'll find some stronger winds, especially for the next few hours for parts of Westland and Canterbury, and generally a windy day in Wellington and southern Wairarapa. We'll keep hold of a fair number of showers through Southland and Otago, perhaps some of those fairly heavy, with the odd chance of some hail or thunder around the coast for this afternoon. Wet weather sticks with us on that western coast, heavy and thundery. We'll also find a few showers running through parts of Canterbury, but it stays windier, I think, for the afternoon, with those winds picking up through the Canterbury Plains. The wet weather moves northwards in towards Wellington, Taranaki as we head through the morning time. I think some sharper showers perhaps on that western coast, and a windy story for Wellington, Wairarapa, and for the afternoon even through Hawke's Bay and Tairafti. The winds picking up in Taupo as well, with more cloud and perhaps an evening shower. Up in the far north, though, generally a fine, dry-looking story. Plenty of sunshine. It does turn cloudier for the afternoon, and we will find perhaps an odd evening shower, but most of the day staying dry, and top temperatures in Auckland of 18 degrees Celsius.
And that is it for today. For more news, of course, go to nzherald.co.nz. A quick thank you to our partners, Forsyth Bar, You Do It, Barker's, Max, 2 Degrees, GJ Gardner, Dilmar, and of course Noel Leeming. From the team at Herald Now, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back at 7 a.m. on Monday.